What is up everybody, welcome back to the channel, and in this video I wanted to go over what I think is probably the most annoying and or probably the worst class to use in Dakar Desert Rally, at least at the moment until something is fixed with this. So I'm sure a lot of players know this, but I would say the quads are probably going to be the worst class in the game to use over the other ones. That's most likely down to like how they handle and or the overall physics with them. I've been noticing a lot of players are not happy. I was looking at other reviewers and stuff like that, and they all seem to say the exact same thing, that the quads are most likely going to be an absolute nightmare to use in the game. And one of the worst parts about this is, for some odd reason, you have to play sport mode in order to get the podium vehicles from the events, and unfortunately you're going to have to use every single vehicle class in order to do this. Now the main reason why I say that's unfortunate is because some players might be enjoying one class, and unfortunately you're probably going to have to use other vehicle classes to get some of the podium vehicles that you might want unlocked. And I think we can all agree the ATVs are probably going to be the worst class to use in the entire game. Now, I have been using them a good amount, and I've been racing in a lot of different events with them, and I'm not going to lie, I am not having a good time with the ATVs at all. It seems like if you hit the littlest bump the wrong way, or maybe you go around the turn the wrong way, the bike is going to basically spin out. And if you guys are wondering, a lot of people do call them quad bikes. I personally have always called them quads, but nonetheless, I have noticed the ATVs always spin out way too easy, and if you basically start to spin or turn the handlebars a little bit too much, and or start to turn the wheel, whatever you would like to call that, the quad always seems like it wants to go into a crazy spin every single time and turn into a break dancer. And to be honest, I am not a big fan of this. I'm pretty much getting to a point with them right now that no matter what turn I go around or whatever event I do with it, I'm pretty much nervous to pass any of the other AI, because let's be honest, they seem like they're also struggling with driving the ATVs as well. So definitely do not feel bad if you guys are having issues with the quads on here, because my goodness, I'm basically at a point where I really do not want to go around turns with the ATV anymore. I'm pretty much afraid to go on any uneven ground with it. That really long snow race with the ATV was honestly a nightmare, my goodness. And you also crash way too often with it, which is going to be like I think it's like 10 seconds or so with that animation to get back on the ATV, unless you want to hit like last checkpoint. So that's definitely going to get really annoying. Meanwhile, the AI basically spawn onto the ATVs as quickly as possible, and they start going super fast. And I noticed the funniest part about this is the fact that, well, every single quad in the game is going to be the exact same model. They're all Yamaha Raptor 700, so it's not like one of them's a Polaris or something like that, or it's like a Yamaha 450 or whatever. It's literally the exact same ATV, but yet some of them handle so much differently, which is kind of odd. One way I tested this out is the fact that I did buy one of the Dakar 2022 bikes, and that ATV seemed to be a little bit better than like the other ones. And then I went to go buy a 2020 ATV, and my goodness, that thing was honestly almost impossible to use, and it seemed way too slow. So I decided to go with a 21 model, I believe it was, which is the blue one I have been using. This one does seem to be the best one I have used so far, and what's kind of sad though is I was experimenting with the ATVs just a little bit, so I did end up buying another Dakar 2022 model on here, and my goodness, that ATV was an absolute nightmare. It felt really slow in some ways, and obviously every single bump or hill that I hit with that thing, it would basically spin out every single time. Now, I'm sure there's probably going to be some type of way to fix this in the future, or maybe tune your ATV a little bit to make it handle, but at the moment I would say a lot of players are probably not going to enjoy the way these ATVs are riding. And I've also noticed the bikes to be kind of annoying as well in the game, but to be honest, from using them a lot longer, I'm finding the bikes to be a lot more fun than the ATVs. Now, I feel like the quads are probably the worst class in the game by a long shot, because I really don't think a lot of players are going to want to do all these events in the game with that, knowing that you're going to have to do like 8 different stages with these, knowing that you can barely get over a hill, and somehow if you hit like a little bump in the road, which by the way, some of the terrain in the game is almost impossible not to flip the ATV over in some way. So if you hit like a little bump, or maybe go over some uneven ground as well, I noticed the ATV will flip over and your guy will do like a front flip, or obviously it's going to spin out and make no absolute sense whatsoever. Then you're going to go into that really annoying animation of a crash, and sometimes you'll spawn in and then one of the other AI will run right into you. It's honestly kind of a nightmare, but I do have high hopes that this is going to be fixed in the future, and I'm going to try to experiment with the ATVs a little bit more and maybe mess with their tuning a little bit. But I'm not going to lie, guys, I'm definitely not having the greatest time with them. But if you do want to go after those podium vehicles, you will unfortunately have to run the quads on every single event, so that's probably going to be a bit of a nightmare. I really do feel like in some parts of the terrain in this game that you really cannot get away from crashing in no matter what you do. Even not being in like the perfect part of that road area on a lot of the events, you're most likely going to crash if you take like a little off-road course or something to like cut an area. I noticed the ATV is obviously not going to like that. You might spin out, or the thing might lose traction. You also might crash for no absolute reason or flip over. It's kind of hilarious, but I do feel like the physics of these ATVs do need to be looked at a good amount, and hopefully they will be, and or in a future update pretty soon as well. I also plan on making a video going over one of my favorite classes and or the funnest ones to use in the game as well, so definitely stay tuned for that. But if I had to guess, I would say the quads are probably going to be an absolute nightmare for many players because I feel like a lot of people are not going to want to use them. If there is one specific like podium vehicle you want, you're going to have to use the ATV, and you're probably going to have to do like one of the 8-stage events or something like that, and that is not going to be a fun time. I would say it's going to be almost impossible not to crash one of them in some of the events because, well, that's just how the ATVs handle. But let me know in the comments below, guys. Do you think the ATVs do need a legit tweak with pretty much everything, like handling? Maybe the entire physics model needs to be updated in some way with them. I really don't know, but I do feel like they do need a look because I do not think a lot of people are enjoying them at all. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching the video, and definitely let me know your thoughts on the quads in the comments below.